Welcome back. We've been promising you that we're going to talk Marc Guéhi. Now is the time. Now, Carve, every time I walked past your desk today, earlier, you were on the phone talking to somebody about Marc Guéhi. There have been developments. What can you tell us?
I was talking to lots of people, not necessarily all about Marc Guéhi. Look, the race to sign Marc Guéhi is wide open at the moment. There isn't a front runner. There is no favourite. But I think we can narrow it down to 4 clubs. And the most interesting one at the moment is Manchester City, because we believe that City are the one club who are interested in signing him this month, as well as next summer. Now, to get him this month, obviously they would have to put a pretty big transfer fee offer to Crystal
What's the big
Palace.
transfer fee? Given that he nearly went for 35 million on deadline day, so what's the big transfer fee in January?
So last summer he had a year left on his contract. Now he's got less than 6 months. Last summer, £35 million was almost enough to get him. I'm thinking still somewhere between 20 and 30 million pounds would be the kind of figure that
well, he's worth that, surely.
Well, he's an England international, but the only problem is that you could potentially get him as a free agent in the summer, and Manchester City are looking at that option as well. What we know is that City are likely to sign a centre-back this year because there are question marks over the future of John Stones, Nathan Ake as well. And obviously it makes sense to look at Marc Guéhi because he's available for nothing in the summer. But the big question is, will they offer enough to tempt Palace to sell him now? And our information is that they've not made an offer for the player, but potentially watch this space over the next few days, because there are also 3 other clubs who want to sign him.
Spill the beans.
But they want to sign him in the summer. The 3 clubs are, the first one is Liverpool. He almost joined Liverpool on deadline day. It collapsed at the last minute, £35 million deal. Liverpool are pushing to sign him as a free agent in the summer. Arsenal are ready to join the race to sign him in the summer as well. I think Arsenal have a lot of strength in depth at the back. Also, Gabriel, William Saliba have signed new contracts. So I would say Arsenal's need is not as pressing as some of the other clubs. But having said that, he's an England international, available on a free. Of course, a club as big and successful as Arsenal are going to look at this situation. The final one is Bayern Munich. Now, they're interesting because they're a foreign club. They're the one interested club who can speak to him now.
And their manager was a great centre-back, which I'm sure Marc Guéhi would love.
Of course, I think he would be excited about the prospect of playing for the champions of Germany and also working with Vincent Kompany and playing alongside Harry Kane as well. And they can speak to him now. They can agree a pre-contract deal with him now. And our colleagues at Sky Germany are saying just in the past few days, they have really stepped up their efforts to try and convince Marc Guéhi to move to Germany in the summer.
My producer's telling me, Mark, you've got a sentence to tell me. One sentence. Where will he be playing his football come beginning of February?
In the Premier League. That's a sentence. Can I just say one quick thing on the Marc Guéhi situation?
Go on, real quick.
For the clubs that want to sign him, whether they sign him in January or in the summer, it's essentially going to cost them the same thing. Because if they give 25 million to Crystal Palace now to get him, or they give Marc Guéhi 25 million as a signing-on fee in the summer, it's going to cost them the same amount of money. The only difference is that Marc Guéhi will get that money instead of Crystal Palace.
Exactly. So
I don't think he cares about the money, by the way.
No, of course.
I think he'll go for the club that's best for his career.
Indeed. So, City interested, of course. And remember, Ruben Diaz, Josko Gvardiol are both out. Ryan Aït-Nouri, he's coming back from the Africa Cup of Nations. That's been delayed. Here's why.
We'll see how does he feel tomorrow. This afternoon. Ryan Aït-Nouri's come back from the AFCON, but unfortunately lost the connection. They're a little bit late, but yeah, we'll see in the training session how does he feel, and we're going to take a decision that no risk for the players, that get injured again.
So he's missed his connections, but he is on his way back, Ait-Nouri. That doesn't solve City's centre-back problems, though, Mark. So if it's not Guéhi, who's it going to be?
Well, we know that they're in the market to try and sign centre-backs over the course of this window. However, Pep Guardiola has also said they won't be making the same number of signings that they did in January last year, where they spent over £175 million. He said, look, that's not going to happen.
But they don't need to.
No, of course not. But a centre-back could be the difference between them.
Welcome back to Sunday Supplements. A few more FA Cup third-round ties this afternoon, including at Fratton Park, an intriguing one with Portsmouth taking on Arsenal. And talking of Arsenal, Miguel, Sam Dean in the Sunday Telegraph, rather scathing piece on Victor Gyökeres. The headline is, Gyökeres is one of the worst strikers in the league. Here's the data to prove it. Arsenal are top of the Premier League and Champions League tables, but many supporters are growing increasingly concerned about the performances of star striker Victor Gyökeres, a £64 million signing. He pinpoints poor movement and unreliable touch, and it says it could be argued Gyökeres is occupying centre-backs, creating more space for other attackers, but the other strikers are now fit. So now Arteta will have a decision to make. Harsh or fair, this piece?
Well, to be fair to Sam, the piece is very fair and very measured. The headline is two-footed.
Yeah. And that's before you get the subtext, like unreliable touch, poor movement.
Look, you only have to look at the goal return. There's an issue there. I've done a lot of Arsenal this season. I was there on Thursday night. And Thursday night, I think, was the most pronounced for me in that there were 3 times that the ball flashed across the box. I think particularly from a Timber header back was the one that really stands out to me. And Gyökeres was nowhere near it. It felt like he was 5 yards behind the play. We've seen a lot of, classic number 9s from Ian Wright to Gary Lineker talk about how if you're a striker in that sort of situation, you've actually got to gamble on your movement to put yourself in there. That is obviously an issue, especially given Gyökeres was signed as a more traditional number 9, not someone necessarily to kind of for his pressing game or for other elements. I think another issue with him, especially if we're comparing him to kind of classic number 9s in that way, is that there's maybe been some frustration with Arsenal. When the ball goes up, it doesn't stick to him. And even you can sense, okay, not so much on Thursday night, although it was a different sort of game. But when Gabriel Jesus came on in recent games, there's just a different energy about Arsenal. That it feels like he integrates into the team more. And look, some of it is down to the fact, I would say, that he's adapting to a higher level from the Portuguese league to the Premier League. It's a new country, but he is 27. One of the reasons he was signed, and this came out in some of the kind of discussion from within Arsenal in the summer, that it was to win now. But even that was interesting at the time, because in the build-up to this summer, which was kind of like the summer number 9s, and it's interesting that a lot of them are actually struggling, which maybe says something about how number 9s are still developing in the modern game. But for pretty much 18 months, the word from Arsenal it was Sesko they were looking at. They've done all the work on Sesko. That one of the reasons they were interested in Sesko as well is because, consistent with a lot of Arsenal's transfer recruitment, he was a player that could grow with the team, even if he wasn't the finished article. And now that did abruptly change in the summer, and I think there was even a surprise at other clubs that it was Gyökeres they went for and that Sesko was suddenly available.
Yeah, I think that's part of the switch to thinking win now. That's what this season's all about for Arsenal. All of the transfer business and the other stuff, it's this awareness of trying to win now, which is, Gyökeres. But Gyökeres was seen, as you say, as a guy that's going to win for you now, that's going to score your goals. His struggles haven't surprised me. I wrote about this in the summer, that the track record of those coming from Portuguese football goal scorers is pretty poor. Ricky van Wolfswinkel, 25 goals for Sporting Lisbon, I think 1 goal for Norwich, for example. Mario Jardel, you can go back. Brighton don't often get it wrong, and obviously they had Gyökeres and let him go. He's not one of the worst strikers in the league, though, because he's useful. He just doesn't look like a top club striker. But Sam hasn't written he's one of the worst strikers in the league, as you say. Yeah. He's just blah, isn't he?
Jackie, picking up on the points that Miguel made there.
He wants to be blah.
About Gyökeres.
Yeah.
Higher level, new league. First time he's going to be playing at that level. all of those issues have been pointed towards Benjamin Sesko as well. And we're seeing signs now that Benjamin Sesko might just be coming up to speed. Is that something that Arsenal could look at and think, just give Gyökeres a bit of time? Because if you are top of the Premier League and top of the Champions League group into the last 4 of the Carabao Cup as well, with a striker who has been a regular, surely you can't carry somebody up front for the entire season, can you?
Yeah, I don't think they're carrying him as such, and it's a good piece by Sam, and he watches Gyökeres very, very closely on a very regular basis. And I thought the key line in there, with my Stato head on, was the fact that he didn't score a single header in scoring his all his goals last season. 68 and 66 in the league for Sporting is incredible. So you can see why they brought him in. But I think the key thing here, bigger picture-wise, is the fact that everyone at Arsenal is terrified, rather, not terrible. No, they're not terrible. They're terrified of blowing it. They are absolutely... You could see that against Liverpool. And when those fabulous balls were played into the box, I screamed at my kids, like, Gary Lineker, Michael Owen would be absolutely attacking that space. There was no excuse. And I don't even care what level, even non-league.
Andy Gray, Jackie, there you go.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Absolutely, but you don't even have to be the most technically proficient footballer, surely, to know you have to attack that space. When you've got quality deliveries from the likes of Timber, and they've got quality players all over the field to deliver those balls in, that's what really concerned me more than anything else. But I think the reason his name's coming up so much, yes, the stats are really poor, but it's because they are terrified of blowing it now at this stage, when this is obviously the best chance since the Invincibles.
Just picking up on that, Miguel, Alison Rudd piece in the Sunday Times says Arsenal need to chill. A draw against the defending champions is not a disaster. A draw against a team with a cunning plan of action and some star names is no reason to gulp in despair. The forthcoming blast of 4 away matches that Arsenal have got in 4 different competitions, and there's even talk, could they, look, they're going for the league, but could they do something extraordinary and maybe win multiple trophies? An unprecedented quadruple is even being whispered about at the moment. So should we just need to just dial it down a little bit and just say Arsenal are in a fantastic position here and they just need to realise that?
Oh, completely. But and actually, just as regards maybe doing something more, I think that's where